back to another week in this week's Dear Piggy Intermediate tutorial. So in this week's first video, we're going to dive into a little bit about static and non-static methods. So before, when we're writing functions, we kind of just followed along based on what I put on the screen, and we never really understand like what was the difference between using the keyword static in a method and using or just leaving it out, right? So first, we're just going to kind of give you the basic textbook definition, then we're going to run an example, and then hopefully from that example, it'll make a lot of sense. Okay, so static methods. So that's when you have the keyword static when you're creating your method. So like this example over here. Now, non-static means any method that doesn't have the keyword static. So pretty easy, right? Static includes keyword static. Non-static does not have keyword static. Just those two big groups. Now, basically, when you create a method, and I'm looking at this part over here now, if you have a keyword static, you can run the method without creating a new object. So previously, we learned about classes and objects. So when we go to our main class to run and create an object, if we include the keyword static in our function, then we can run this function in our main function without creating a new object. However, if you have a non-static function, you would have to go and create a new object, then you would be eligible to run your function. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense. It'll make a lot more sense as we go on here and do an actual code example. So I created a REPL on REPLit. So let me reload it. It seems to be a little bit slow. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go and I want to create a separate class, right? So I'm going to create a new class, add file, and the example with Tiger, let's just do pig.java. Now pig.java, okay, so we do pig.java and it gives us an empty file. Now we create the class. So public class pig. And then in here now we can do whatever we want. So we're going to just stick with quick and easy to kind of just get the message across. And we're going to create two methods, obviously one static and one non-static. So let's go ahead and create our first non-static method. So public void, let's say sleep, and then just do easy system.out.println, println, the pig is sleeping, semicolon. Okay, so simple, easy. Now let's try another one. Public static void. So now this is a static function, and I say eat. So system.out.println, the pig is starving and eating food. I don't really know what pigs eat actually. Maybe like I don't know. What I've heard is that you like get a bunch of leftovers from whatever you've been eating in the past week and you just mush it together and feed it to them. But there probably are the nice pigs that like actually get like full-on 5-star meals. I don't know. Okay, so we've created our class, and this is our non-static method, which means that you can only run this function after creating an object. Okay, now this is our static method because we have the keyword static, and we can run this function without, I spelled that wrong, without creating an object. But there's a catch. We cannot run this function in an object, if that makes sense. So this is super important. Remember, when we first started off in our videos, we mentioned static, and we said that static meant that it belonged to the class and not to an object of the class, which means that this function belongs to the class pig and not any object of the class pig. So that means that if we were to create an object and try to run the function eat for that object, it would not work. So let me show you guys, and we'll see that REPLit is actually going to give us quite a few errors. So the first things first, I'm going to actually create a class, an object. So pig, piglet is equal to new pig. Semicolon. Okay, good. Wonderful. So now we've created our object. Now we know that this function only works after we create an object. So that means that we'd have to run this sleep function after we create the piglet. So piglet.sleep. And notice, guys, in a second I'll show you that we're doing piglet.sleep, which means that we're running this for our piglet object. Now we know that eat only works if we run this function without creating the object. It's not going to work if I put this as piglet.eat because piglet is an object. Which that means that we have to run, we can only run our static function like this, pig.eat. Notice how this is a capital P, which corresponds to our class P, which means that we're running this from the pig main class. And this is running it from the piglet object. If we run this, which this actually might take some time to run, they should give us no errors, and it doesn't. It says the pig is starving and eating food, and the pig is sleeping, which is good, right? This means that it's working. But if I were to try to switch this up, so maybe I tried to run sleep first, outside, and let's run the code. And so sleep, pig.sleep, it gives us an error. Now let's read the error. Non-static method sleep cannot be referenced from a static context, which is basically saying that if you were to run a function before you create your object, you cannot run a non-static function. Only static functions can be run without creating an object first. So this is a fail, which is right based on our knowledge. Now let's try to run the eat function for the piglet object. We know that static functions shouldn't be able to work when you create an object. But it does work in this case, which is kind of weird, but let's take a minute and think about why. So basically, what we've learned through these examples is the difference between static and non-static functions, and when you would want to use a static function, and when you would just want to leave the keyword static out. Right, again, just to sum everything up, static, non-static methods are just whether or not you see the keyword static, and the difference between them is that for our static methods, so for example, eat here, we can run this without creating an object of the class pig. So we can run capital P pig.eat, which would be fine without creating an object. However, if we were to run capital P.sleep, it's not going to work because a non-static method, you can only run this function after you create an object, which means that before you create an object, this is not going to work. Okay, so likewise, this will work perfectly if you switch them. If you switch eat and sleep vice versa, they will not work. So yeah, guys, that was static versus non-static methods. Quick and easy, hopefully made some sense. Next video, we will work on constructors. So I'll see you then. Bye, guys.